Hi, it's Lori from Coast to Coast Craft Girls, coming to you from the West Coast. Today I wanted to share a 6x6 gatefold card that I made, but mostly I wanted to show you how to take a 12 by 12 piece of paper. This is paper from Papers by Michelle McCarthy Crafts, and it's the Velvet Reindeer collection, and it's a 12 by 12 pad. And see how the pictures are all, I mean, they're gorgeous, but they're big, right? They're a big print. And so when you look at that and you think, okay, that's beautiful if you framed it and hung it on the wall, but how do I use that in a card? Well, if you make giant 8x8 cards or something, then that's probably fine, but I don't. The biggest I make is generally a 5x7 or a 6x6. So I took a 12 by 12 piece and I cut it down by pulling out the deer, and then this is all from one sheet of card, to kind of pull together and find my 6x6 piece that I wanted out of the middle of that card, then picking up two 3x6 pieces. Then I did a little bit of fussy cutting to kind of, because this part of the card and this part of the card were completely different, so to pull it together from a section of the card that I cut off right here, I fussy cut this poinsettia out and added it on just to kind of tie it all together. So and it just works because it's one sheet of paper, so the colors all just kind of go together. So let me show you how it's made. So sometimes you get a 12 by 12 paper that's just like this. This is Papers by Michelle's Velvet Reindeer collection, and all of the papers are gorgeous, and they're so pretty that I didn't really want to cut them, but I also want to use them. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to make a 6x6 gatefold card. So this is a 6x12 piece of paper, and I scored at 3 and at 9, and that gives you a 6x6 gatefold. And now, and making the gatefold card is not really what the video is about. What I want to work on in this video is showing you how to take a 12 by 12 piece of paper and really think about how do you use this. So the way that I did it is, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, 6x6, obviously I want to put my deer all in one piece. So I measured the widest part of the ears, and so here's 6 inches. So I know I can go on each side of those ears, and then I want to get, this part. Now I'm going to end up cutting off some part of his antlers, that top part, but they're already cut off on the paper anyway. You can see right up here. So I'm okay with that. But if I just measure down from the top 6 inches, I'm going to cut off his face. So I don't want to do that. So I actually want to come down 7 inches, and then I'm going to take 1 inch off the top. Okay, so I'm going to come down actually about 6 3/4. Let me measure over here. So yeah, about 6 3/4 inches, and then I'll take 3/4 of an inch off the top. Okay, and so that's going to be my 6x6 panel, is right out of there. So let me cut that. And the easiest way to do this when you're kind of piecing out a piece of 12, or piecing a large piece of paper into, these small pieces, is to use a paper trimmer, because I don't want to cut the whole thing, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I want to cut just to the side of his ear, right about there, and I want to come down, remember I said 6 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to come down 6 3/4 of an inch. Then I'm going to take that and let me do it this way. And I want to put my paper at 6 3/4 of an inch this way. So there's 6 3/4, and that's going to give me that cut right there. And so I want to start right at that cut, and I want to go this way about essentially 6 inches. So I want to come down, this is at about 9. I came in about 3 inches, so I want to go from there and up to the 3. Okay. And I'm going to come over here and come in, and let's see, it might be easier to do it this way. So at 3 inches, I'm going to cut from there to there, down to that cut. Now that should give me my 6x6 panel for the back of my card. Okay. Oh, except I got to cut off the top part, because remember I came down 6 3/4, so I got to measure to just about 6 inches and cut off that top 3/4 of an inch. Okay, still a lovely deer, and that's going to go on the inside of my card, and that should be about 6x6. It's actually a little bit larger, so we'll take a bit off there. I missed by 1/4 of an inch. So my deer is going to go in the back. Now I've got 6x3 panels. Now this is a lovely piece here, and you could use this on the other side if you want, but I really like these flowers. So the first thing I'm going to do is this one, and I'm going to go ahead and cut that right at that line, and then I'm going to decide which, see that's 3, so I just need to trim that off a little bit. And that'll give me my 3-inch wide. Now I need 6 inches high, and you can decide which end you want to take off of. I'm going to take off from the top. And there's my one of my 3-inch panels. Okay, now I need to decide which of the other piece of this card I want my 6x3. So I could take this piece like this, and let's see, and that's pretty, but I think the poinsettias would be nicer. So try to decide, and it's going to go this way, whereas the paper goes this way. So you can see there's a light string in here, so I can't include that because that's going to be obvious that my paper's going the wrong way. So I'm going to take a 6x3 piece right out of here. So I'm going to come across right above that light, take that off. Then I got to decide, so I get my ruler out and I decide which of my 3-inch pieces, and then you can go 6 inches this way is right up to here. Okay, so that looks good. So then I just decide which 3 inches I want. So if you go all the way over to this side, you lose the poinsettias. So I don't want that unless I came up here. I went 3, but then 6 inches down is going to be, that's actually not bad. I mean, I'm going to lose that big poinsettia, which I could get almost all of if I go right there. So I'm going to come in and do this 3 inches right about there. So I'm going to start by cutting the 6 inches this way. And I cut just like 1/8 of an inch short, just to, so that it'll fit. And then I decide, where do I want my line? And the way that I do it is I literally just get my ruler out and go, is that going to give me the design that I want? little bit more this way. Yep, that's going to do it. And then once I get that cut, now I can flip it around and do my 3 this way. And I've got that beautiful poinsettia that I'm going to use for my other part of my gatefold card. And that's how you can take a 12 by 12 piece, and I'm actually thinking I might flip them. Maybe not. That's how you can take a 12 by 12 piece and just pick out the pieces that you want for your card. And then I'm trying to decide which way I want it. I'm gonna go that way. And then I'm going to put a sentiment on this panel here. So let me glue it all up. So whenever you're looking at a large piece of paper and you think, oh, it's a huge big 12 by 12 pattern, how am I ever going to use that on a card? Think about using the pieces of it that you want and just take either like a nesting die in that size or a ruler or something. I don't like to use the card. A lot of people will lay the card on top. I don't like to do that because I can't see through it. So I use my clear ruler. Wondering about fussy cutting out this floral and putting it down here. I may do that. Let's try it. So I'm going to fussy cut out this other poinsettia. And by doing this, I'm bringing in some of the pattern from here over here just to kind of tie it together. I think I might cut this one out too. I love Michelle's papers because they're so beautiful, and there's so many little elements that if you don't mind fussy cutting them, that you can take out and use. Okay, so now I'm just going to put these on, and I think I'm going to put those on with some 3D glue. Give it a little bit of dimension. And that kind of brings together those two halves. And you've taken a 12 by 12 piece of paper that's a beautiful scene and turned it into a gorgeous Christmas card. I'm just going to add my sentiment on here, right on this side. And then you're done. So, thanks for watching.